All right, so everybody, thanks so much for listening to Fire Breathe and Rob. If you're listening to us for the first time, we greatly appreciate it. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, and a bunch of others that I have to definitely get the name of because if people listen to it that way, we want to get those out too. If you're listening to us on YouTube also, please subscribe, like, and share this video. It's with an impressive young woman, and she's going to tell her story in just a moment. And also, if you're listening to us on the radio or some other platform, we also thank you for that. So there's many places to listen, and we appreciate wherever you're listening. This is Jessica Jarvis. Again, she was the final winner back in 2014 on August 30th on the American Idol Experience stage back at Hollywood Studios here in Orlando, Florida. So, Jess, first of all, it's an honor to have you on, and I'm so excited we found each other
Oh
because
yeah.
because I've talked to a couple of the judges. We're gonna have quite a few more people on, some of the warm-up acts for the show. And I said,
Mhm.
we gotta find the woman that won the last show. And I was like, I remember she was like 14, she was young. I was like, she's gotta be pretty old now. Not to say you're old, you're 20, so that's definitely not that old. But regardless, we found you, and I'm so grateful, like I said, that you answered my direct message and we got in contact, and this is going to be a great experience. So, Jessica Jarvis, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I saw the message. I'm like, this is such an awesome opportunity. So I really appreciate what you're doing, bringing everybody together in this way. It's awesome.
What got you into singing in general? I know your dad was a pastor. Was it something like, you always going to church, you in the choir, or is this just something that you sang and you loved it and you just kept practicing and doing it?
Yeah, it was kind of evident at a young age that I started to have a little bit of a musical ear. I could match pitch, and my
Mm.
dad saw that, hey, I could sing along with certain songs, and I wasn't bad for like a 2.5-year-old. But my dad was a worship pastor my entire life, and so he's always been a musician. He plays the piano, he sings, plays the trumpet, and so I just grew up
Oh,
hearing
wow.
music, and I think that helped train my musical ear as I grew up. And then, of course, my mother's always been very supportive, and she got me involved in musical theater when I was around 8 years old. And so that just helped cultivate that love even more. I did dancing, I did acting, but singing and music just clicked with me for some reason. And so I love it so much. Now I'm doing it in college, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
So you're doing it in college. So can you go in depth into that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm at Southeastern University right now pursuing a degree in music business. And it's a really unique degree. Not many schools have it, but that's why it was such an awesome opportunity. And it's quite literally half music, half business. It's not 2 degrees, it's one. So it's a lot of work, but in the same way that I would be taking recording arts, audio and production technology, I had to take music and oral theory like other music majors. I also had to take accounting, business law, management, marketing, public relations. Like I had to do all of those courses as well. But I also have an entrepreneurial mind, so it clicks with me. I just enjoy it for some odd reason. People think I'm crazy, and so I'm majoring in that. But as part of my degree, my school partners up with the Contemporary Music Center in Nashville, Tennessee, and you do a study abroad semester. And so I will be going to Nashville this fall doing coursework up there. I'll be doing the artist track, so that's geared towards the singer songwriter. Then there's also a producer track and an executive track, depending on what you're interested in. And by the end of the semester, we will be going on tour across the US for our last week of school. So there's never been a cooler finals week than what this program offers. But I'm really excited to be going to Nashville for almost 4 months. It's going to be a blast.
So to start off the interview, Jess, what was the American Idol experience to you in general?
Oh, it was so exciting. It was kind of a starstruck moment to be in the middle of all of it, and it's certainly an honor to have been considered the very last winner. Did I necessarily think I was going to win? I mean, there was no telling. Obviously, I was hopeful, and I worked hard. I mean, goodness, my dad took me to the parks on that day. We had got a hotel room and drove up last minute just so I could try it because I had just turned 14 like a day or two prior. And so we went there, and there are a few audition stages that you go through before you actually make it on stage. And it was just one step at a time, and the anticipation is building. And it was a day of excitement. It was an early morning, had to get up, got dressed, did my hair, makeup, yada yada. But certainly exciting, really involved, and a bit nerve wracking in between each show. There was a cafe, I don't think it's there anymore, but it was by the ABC commissary area.
Yeah, the right is
And
stopped. You're right.
yes, oh my gosh, I loved it there. But in between every show, because they had the shows, like I don't know if it was like 1 and 3 o'clock or whatever the case is, but that was our hangout spot throughout the day. So get some AC and just chillax in the few minutes of free time we had.
Let's go actually back into the story when you first got to Disney. So obviously you heard that the show was closing on the 30th. And I'm not sure if you remember this, but there was actually talk that the show was going to close in January of 2015, and then they bounced it back to August. So when you found out it was closing on that date, I forgot what day that was of the week, but regardless, did you? I know you told me off the air that your dad and you planned to go over there. Was that like just a spirit of the moment thing that you said, "Hey, we got to do this fast, or else this is it"?
Well, see, I think we even had maybe a family vacation coming up because I think we might have been annual pass holders at the time. So we were going to be up there within just a few months anyway. So we figured, oh, we have plenty of time. It's closing in January, like you said. But then it turns out, nope, it's being brought back end of August. And it was just kind of like a, oh no moment. And so my dad's like, well, I can't just not let you have this opportunity because I had never been able to do it before because I was too young. And
Right.
so I turned 14 just a day or two prior before it closing. And my dad and I, we drove up, got a hotel room, stayed that night. And then the next morning got up super early so I could go to the auditions like at park open.
Okay. So when you got there, did you run in there because like because you were worried that obviously, like I said, it was the last day of the show, so there could have been a lot of people trying out. Who knows? But word travels fast at Disney, and it seems like every attraction, whether it's a show or the great movie ride or wherever it may be, if
Yeah.
something, I know that was a disaster, by the way, that they closed that. But well, that's another topic for another day. But it seems like when they close an attraction at Disney, everybody just formulates to that attraction and gets a huge line. Now, with the Idol experience, it was obviously different because, it's a whole different show. It's not a ride. So were you
Yeah.
worried that you weren't going to get in if you didn't get there early? Go ahead.
Oh, of course. And that's why we had got there like at the crack of dawn. We were there for Park Open, and there were other people also there for the American Idol experience as well. There were other people who auditioned. I'm trying to remember if there was a super long line or not. I think since we had gotten there so early, it probably wasn't too bad. But yeah, there were other people who had come out specifically for it being the last day, and we did expect that. So luckily, we had planned ahead enough for that.
So when you sung, because obviously you have to do a little a cappella
Mhm.
song for the first person before they send you on. What did you sing as far as your song?
Yes, I believe it was Roar by Katy Perry.
Okay.
And so here I was just trying to do my own little song and dance and just make the best of it. But he had liked what he had heard and said they wanted to hear more, so they sent me off into the second round.
Okay. So then you went over to what is it? After that, you move on. Then you go to the voice coach, and then they do hair and makeup after that, correct?
Not quite, not that I remember. There's a second audition that you have to
Oh,
do. And what they do is they gave me, I think, an iPod and
right.
some headphones, and they say, here is our song list. It's what they have in their song bank. And I had to audition in this room where I think they had the words maybe on the back of the screen, but it was dimmed down. There were lights to kind of mimic a little bit of a stage atmosphere. And I had to go through that second audition round with two songs that I had chosen from their song list. And I'm trying to think. I Want You Back by the Jackson Five
Mhm.
and another song by Kelly Clarkson. Um, the name of it escapes my mind at the moment, but what they ended up choosing was I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. Then they sent me off to the voice coach, hair and makeup, all that jazz.
Okay, so then you did that, and then did you just hang out? I know you said you and your dad kind of hang out for a while in the writer's stop. Did you go on any rides that day? You guys just kind of hung around until you went to the rehearsal and then
Yeah,
the show.
with hair and makeup and everything, I didn't want to be sweating. I mean, it was August, it was hot, and
Right.
so I didn't want to look like a mess knowing that I was going to be on stage. And so we had just tried to stay as cool as possible. We hung out in the writer's stop. I don't think we did any rides. It was just chatting and waiting, calling my mom, telling her all the updates, and.
Okay, so then obviously they bring you on stage, and I've never done I never did the experience, but from what I've heard is that they bring you on stage, you do the kind of trial run where, obviously the words are in the back. We all knew that. But
Which was such a unique thing. Like, I mean, they didn't have to, and it was nerve-wracking because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to remember these words when I just learned this song today. But it was really nice of them to at least give me that little pick-me-up.
So how did your little audition go on stage for the first time before, obviously everybody went in there for the preliminary?
Yeah, from what I recall, everything was fine. I remember it being a little nerve-wracking, of course, but I think it was fine. What was really cool is, and I'm sure you might be familiar with this, but they do some sort of a sound check to make sure all the sound levels are all right. But one of the coolest little gizmos they give you is this thing. I think it was clipped in my hair or with some sort of headband or something, but it's a sensor so the stage lights would follow you wherever you walked.
Right.
And that was probably one of the coolest things. And they said, yeah, go ahead, walk the stage, do whatever you want. And I believe there was a moving camera, or at least for the last show of the day, they said, hey, there's going to be a moving camera. He's going to do a 360 walk around you and just play with the camera, do whatever you want. It was really fun to be creative in that moment.
So, okay, so then we go into the preliminary, and what preliminary show were you at? Were you at the 12 or the 1 or?
It was so long ago, I
Right.
don't remember. Part of me wonders if it were the earliest show because I had gotten there so early in
Right.
the day. They just went ahead and put me on that lineup, which meant we were waiting around for quite a while.
Do you remember anything in that preliminary show? Do you remember if the competition was pretty steep, or you kind of, when you got up there, you said, I got this? Like, they're not really that.
I know at one point or another I had gone up against Jimmy Barton. And I don't know if he was there the last day or what the case was, but I'm pretty sure I went up against him or at least a few other people who it had they had performed a handful of times. And so that was a bit intimidating, thinking, well, if they've made it and have even won in the past, well, surely they're going to win again. So that would probably be the stiffest amount of competition. But I just kind of went in it with the attitude, you know what, whether I win or lose, it's fun anyways. So I just tried to keep that type of energy throughout the entire performance. That way it didn't affect anything. It just happened to play out for the better. So
Right. So then we moved on to the finale, which is obviously a full house. I mean, that place was
yes.
jam-packed. There was people with signs in the front row. I
Oh
remember
yeah,
that.
it was crazy.
It was pretty incredible. And obviously there was emotions running high because obviously the judges were in the audience too, some of them. So they were kind of upset, and because obviously the show was going away, and then emotions are running high because it's the last show. A lot of these other people, I don't know if you knew this, but a lot of these people are going out to no jobs, whether they were in the tech, in the back, the camera guys. They had to really find something else. A lot of the judges even, were really down because they were about to lose their job with that show going away.
Oh, absolutely. I remember there was this one part of the day where they ask you to shoot a little bit of a promo video that they play that you reenact being accepted. And so there was a shot of me giving my dad a big hug and pointing to a star, something along those lines. And I remember the camera guy that was there, and I think he also did the 360 shot on the last day. He said, "Yep, I was running cameras the day this attraction opened, and I'm closing down the building today."
Wow.
So, I mean, it was really impactful to see all of these people who had really put their heart and soul into this show. And sorry to see that not all of them necessarily got to find another job after that.
So to finish off your experience, so obviously you went to the final. As far as in the finale, it was a full house, like we said. Talk about that. Bring us back to 2014, August 30th. You're on the stage. You're obviously performing last. Michael Jackson, "I Want You Back." You didn't know the song before. It's full packed house, and you really got into the song. It seems like I've watched that performance over again, and you really got
Oh
into
my
it.
gosh. I haven't watched that video in a hot second, because I look back and it's 14-year-old me. Do I think it was necessarily bad for a 14-year-old? No, I'll give myself a little bit of credit, but looking back at 20 years old, I'm like, I could do better. I don't know, but
Oh yeah,
that's a whole other thing. Yeah, there was a certain, I don't know, a certain energy. I just felt alive in that moment. I don't know. I figured I had nothing to lose, so I might as well just put myself out there. Some people, they get on stage and they'll be like, "It's embarrassing to act around and dance around." I literally could care less. I was having so much fun in the moment, and I felt like I was on cloud nine. I enjoyed every second of it. And what really just blows my mind is I remember at the very end of the night when they do the confetti cannons. That was insane, because usually they would have the confetti cannons and it you know flurries down for a few seconds, but it went on and on and on. Like, they overloaded those cannons that night, and everybody was crying and taking pictures, and the whole
Right.
cast and crew came out on stage. Like, it was a very emotional time. So it was, but every second of it magical. I remember, I think it was Greg Hudson is his name. He was the host for the night, and he said, "Here we don't say goodbye, but in true Disney spirit, we'll say see you real soon." And that just really, it hit the heart real close.
Agreed. Yeah, it was tough. I remember that. People going on stage. I went on there, took a lot of pictures, so I get that.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this. So, obviously all that stuff is running through your mind. You won, and it's the last show, and as far as that ever happening again at Hollywood Studios, did any of the judge, I know, actually, personally, I know, because I saw a lot of the judges come up to you. Do you remember any kind of advice or anything that any of those judges said to you in that moment? I know it was a while ago.
Whew. Everybody was just so encouraging. It was just, don't stop doing what I'm doing, keep up the, good stuff. I remember one of the judges in the middle of the show, when they give you your advice afterwards, one of them referred to me as, I think it was like Rapunzel with street cred or something along those lines. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm going for. And I do hope to work in Disney someday. So to see all of these cast members come up to me and encourage me in that way was just mind blowing, because I aspire to be like those people. They were creators, they were artists, and they were
Right.
hardworking people, and still are in their own ways wherever they are today. But that's what I hope to be, or hope to do at one point. So it was very encouraging for sure.
So did you use the ticket? Did you go and try out?
Oh, that's a whole story in itself. The short answer is yes. I'll try to give you an abridged version. But what had happened is, I think that following year, that summer, it was going to be the last season of American Idol before they switched networks. But we didn't know that they were going to switch networks. There was no guarantee that the show was going to come back. And I said, well, I have this ticket. What am I going to do with it? And so you had to register the ticket to enable you to skip the cattle call audition.
Right.
And so I skipped the cattle call audition, and went straight on to the executive producer rounds, very similar to how you would go through one person before going into a more intimate setting at the American Idol experience. And we drove out to Savannah, Georgia, and had to get up at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and went through the whole process. What had happened, though, is I get to executive producer round 1, I pass, go to executive producer round 2, right before the celebrity judges, they say, we can't let you go any further, because I had to be 15 before June 1st, and my birthday's in August. And they said, legally, because you're not old enough, we cannot allow you to continue any further in this competition. And there was my ticket. I did end up auditioning again for American Idol when it came back on the Noon Network. I went to Disney Springs in Orlando, auditioned, but I had to go through the cattle call, which the ticket would have allowed me to skip. And I saw some of the same producers and same people from when I auditioned in Savannah, Georgia. Wish I would have had that ticket to skip that cattle call, and maybe I would have had a better chance that I didn't make it past the cattle call. And that fall, I was going to be, sometime within the next year, I would be going off to college. And I said, you know what, we'll do this for now. And I'm currently pursuing a degree in music business and doing stuff for myself in the meantime, and I've learned a lot through that. So will I try out for American Idol again? You know, I do think about it often. I'm considering it. We'll see.
All right, so let's finish off American Idol with some quick questions. What was your favorite part of the whole experience?
Oh, I think it was certainly the cast members. It was the people. It was the cast and crew. Sammy, he was the voice coach, and everybody else who just really made me feel like I was at home. And then there were also some people who they had been watching the show for years that came out because it was the last show. And I ended up becoming friends with some of them on Facebook later on. Some of them even took pictures and videos of the event and sent those to me. That way I could have them for my own. And so that was really sweet of them. But even the people who were just watching it, you know, they were just as much a part of the family, and they took me in, and I was new. I had only seen the American Idol experience maybe a few times, certainly had never performed in it because I was too young, and I was just accepted. And that's what really still rings true in my mind today.
You did 2 shows. You did the preliminary, and then you did the finale. With that, Jessica, who was your favorite host and judges in general?
Okay. Of course, there was always the Simon Cowell personality in every session. And so he's supposed to kind of have not the most optimistic outlook. And so he was always funny. I don't remember what his name was. I do know Lulu and Lisa. I'm sure you know them. It would be between them because they were always funny, they were always witty, but also offered some really good advice. And they were the people who came up to me afterwards and encouraged me in that way. And so I'm friends on Facebook with them, and I'm glad to keep that connection open.
Did you have any funny or experiences or crazy experiences while you were waiting, while you were doing it? I know you said people came up to you that followed the show, but anything funny or crazy that happened during that period of time?
You know what? At the end of the last show, I remember we were all just kind of like connecting on stage, cast, crew, the people who had sung that last show. And there were some people who were walking up to the stage and shaking each other's hands and just greeting everyone. And there was like this 10, 11-year-old boy that came up to me and is like, can I get a picture with you? And he ended up posting it to Instagram. I think I took a screenshot of it to save it. I don't know where it is, but it was just like a starstruck moment. I'm like, I didn't even do anything, but he was just like, wow. So I don't know. I thought that was really funny. That will always just, it's right there. It just makes my heart happy.
Well, good luck to you. And Jessica Jarvis, thanks so much for your time. For people that want to check you out, where can they go, Jessica?
So I'm on Instagram. I just recently got married, so it's Mrs. Jessica Eisenhower. But also you can find me on Instagram for my music at Jessica Jarvis Music.
Again, Jessica Jarvis, definitely check her out. Thanks so much, Jess. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.